Southern California, good afternoon, and welcome to the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. Today we have ourselves another busy show as always. We have lots to talk about in the world of Southern California sports, such as the Chargers signing Morgan Fox, a former LA Ram. Will Fox be able to fit right into the defensive scheme of the Chargers? And will there be more help on the way for the Chargers? And the Angels and Dodgers are sadly slumping as of late. Can the boys in blue and the Halos turn it around, even though it's still early in the season? And the LA Kings have unfortunately been eliminated from the NHL playoffs. They unfortunately could not close against the Edmonton Oilers. We will pay tribute to the LA Kings season and give ourselves a little bit of taps. Also, we have lots to talk about in terms of soccer as LAFC whiffed against Austin FC. How bad was the loss, and what will LAFC have to do in order to get back on top of the Western Conference? This is Teran Rodriguez bringing you another edition of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show here on IE Sports Radio, your direction for all that is sports. And welcome all to another edition of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. Thank you all for joining me on this beautiful Friday afternoon. Yes, I am back to Friday afternoons. Probably going to be back here on Fridays at 5 p.m. Pacific time, just because I think that's the ideal time for me, just because my life has still been a whirlwind, but I am still managing to hold on. Without any further delay, let's get on into that Southern California sports action. But first and foremost, we have a word from our sponsor. IE Sports Radio is proud to call the Southern California Warriors semi-pro football team the official sponsor of IE Sports Radio. The world of semi-pro sports is unlike any other sports organization. Players pay to play in the hopes of so many different outcomes, whether it's playing to get filmed out for professional teams, big-time colleges, or just playing to stay in shape. No matter what, all semi-pro players have one thing in common, and that's playing for the love of the game. The SoCal Warriors have been on a quest to earn titles and give players second chances since 2017. Whether you're in Southern California or anywhere in the world, give semi-pro sports a chance if you love your sport. You may get that second chance you've been waiting for as an athlete. You can follow the SoCal Warriors on Twitter at SoCal Warriors, on Instagram at Southern_California_Warriors, and on Facebook by typing in the word Southern California then Warriors. Then IE Sports Radio is available on Twitter and on Instagram at IE Sports Radio, and on Facebook by typing in the word IE, then Sports, then Radio. They also have a website, www.iesportsradio.com, and when you go there, you'll see a Patreon link, which starts at $5 a month. This donation will get you a shout from all 31 of our shows, and higher tiers will include IE Sports Radio merchandise, access to IESRU, the podcasting university of IE Sports Radio, and even a chance to be featured on IE Sports Radio's flagship show, The Defining Moment with Larry B. Because for the past 8 years, IE Sports Radio has been bringing you amazing content ranging from interviewing legendary athletes, interviewing coaches, and interviewing other authorized media personnel, to building tailor-made shows dedicated to all major sports cities around the country. All the while, we've been continuing to be by the fans and for the fans, and with your help, we are ready to take the next biggest step. Thank you, everyone, for continuing to make IE Sports Radio your direct feed for all that is sports. shout out to our Patreon supporters: Bay Area Raised, Apparel, Marcus Los Great, Key to the Gate, and an anonymous supporter. We also want to give a shout out to iSports Radio's Fan of the Month, Justin Ekstrom. His Twitter is @thesportscrib21, and he is a Minnesota Vikings fan. And we would also like to give a big, big, big thank you to everyone for making iSports Radio's 8th year anniversary super special. Here's to many more years to come at iSports Radio. Also want to give a shout to Larry B for tying the knot and getting married to his wonderful fiance, who is now his wife, Cecilia. So I could not be more happier for them. And honestly, it's great that they finally tied the knot, and the day finally came. They tied the knot on Sunday, which was the official birthday of iSports Radio. So they got married on May 15th, and the rest is history. iSports Radio and Larry B getting married was basically the culmination of Sunday. Well, iSports Radio's birthday, that is. So, but definitely a huge shout out to Larry B for getting married and tying the knot. I really am happy for you, and I wish nothing but endless happiness for you and Cecilia going forward. Now, without any further delay, let's get on into some Southern California sports action. So, right now, we actually have to pay tribute to the LA Kings this season, which I can't believe they lost to the Edmonton Oilers. They were up 3-2 going back to the Crypto.com arena, which they should have won, but unfortunately they did not, as the Kings were just unable to get the job done, which makes me sad face. And hold on a sec. Sorry, I had to clear my throat there for a minute, but it's okay. Alright, so yeah, the Kings season came to a sad end, which they lost Game 6 by, I want to say it was by a lot more than it should have been. It shouldn't have been, as unfortunately the Kings were just drubbed. They lost 4-2, which isn't too bad. However, they weren't really like in the case of they weren't ultimately close. Like, it was 1-1 after 1-0 after the first period in favor of Edmonton, 2-1 after the second period, and then pretty much at the beginning of the third period, the Kings tied it up, but unfortunately, they just couldn't score. They allowed Evander Kane, of all players, to get 2 goals, which makes me sad face. So that was pretty much Game 6. And then Game 7, back to Edmonton. The Kings put up a donut, while Edmonton was able to score in the second and third period. And they won 2-0 in Game 7, which bounced the LA Kings out of the playoffs. So, for the first time since God knows when, the LA Kings Southern California finally gets an NHL team in the NHL playoffs. But unfortunately, the Kings just could not take advantage of the opportunity of being up 3-2. As we say hello to Marcus Losgreat, who says, "What up, what up, what up, doe?" I'm glad to have you in the chat room, brother. Let us all pay tribute to the LA Kings' great season. May the LA Kings season be remembered as Southern California finally had a team in the NHL playoffs this year. Amen. Anyway, going back to the LA Kings, yeah, it was a disappointing season, but honestly, the fact that they even got to the playoffs when no one put any expectations on them speaks to high volumes of how they worked hard, and they had to grind it out. As, yeah, I see you, Marcus, in the chat room. He says, going fishing. Ah, yeah, you're funny. Funny, Marcus. But, yeah, it was a tough loss, but I think we could rule this as a successful season. It was certainly better than the Ducks season. Like, good lord, that was a complete collapse. So, what can you do? So, that pretty much is going to do it for all of the NHL talk. I mean, obviously we have the NHL draft and how the Ducks have a decent pick. Unfortunately, I don't think it's like the best pick, honestly. I don't think it's like a great pick. But, what can you do? So that's pretty much that for the NHL talk. I'll probably talk about the Ducks and their pick later on. Let's jump to some NFL news. So nothing on the Rams, but the Chargers this week did sign Morgan Fox, a former LA Ram who had 6 sacks in his 2020 campaign with the Rams, which was also the year Brandon Staley was with the Rams. So overall, I think this is a good signing. I think Morgan Fox has some good years under his belt. He's only 27, and the Chargers need all the defensive line help they can get. Now, I have been hearing that the Chargers could also go after Akeem Hicks. So I have heard that Akeem Hicks has been injury-riddled, and I feel this could be a risk versus reward opportunity for the Chargers. But I think they're still doing great things with their defense. I mean, look at who they've signed. They got J.C. Jackson, Kyle Van Noy, Sebastian Joseph Day. He was the guy that pretty much kind of teased Chargers fans to the news as he was having those 2 eye emojis, and then eventually he said, "Aha! Welcome, Morgan Fox," or something along those lines. Sebastian Joseph Day is a fool for that one. But I'm really liking the Chargers defense. There's no excuses now for the Chargers. They're beefing up their offensive line, their defense, and they still have one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. So there's no excuse that the Chargers should not have success this year. They should be having all of that success. Because if they don't, I swear I'm going to lose my marbles. Don't worry, I won't really lose my marbles. But something about Sebastian Joseph Day and Morgan Fox being reunited together is that they'll also be reunited with Brandon Staley, as I think that could fit well under Brandon Staley and playing for him yet again. Now, obviously, Ronaldo Hill is the one calling the defensive shots, but I think for the Chargers, I think that defense is going to be vastly improved. I'm certain their run defense will be better. It's not going to be like last year where they were pretty much dead last in the league. Like, that was atrocious. They even made Rex Burkhead look elite like he was in his Patriots days, but I digress on that. There's still lots of time left before training camp starts, and I don't think they've started OTAs yet. But it was announced that they will be having joint practices with the Dallas Cowboys, which means we will be seeing Rashawn Slater and Micah Parsons doing battle with one another on the practice field. So I'm looking forward to that. And also the Cowboys and the Chargers will be playing one another in preseason. So there's also that. And then I guess it's also worth noting that the Chargers will also be playing the Rams in preseason and the Saints in preseason. So, not that I'm really fully invested in preseason, but I just needed to make note of that as well. So, there is that right there for your Chargers news. There wasn't any news on the Rams as of recent, but hey, no news is good news. So there is that right there. I really can't wait for both of these teams to get started with their season. The Chargers kick off their season against Raiders. And then the Rams obviously kick off their season on Thursday against the Buffalo Bills, which I think that's going to be a very fun game. That should be like pay-per-view right there. Like, that could also, I hate to say this, that's probably a matchup of two teams that could contend in both of their respective divisions. Well, not divisions, their respective conferences. So I really can't wait for the NFL season to start. So we'll see what happens going forward. So that is pretty much going to do it for the NFL talk when it comes to that. I actually like the signing of Morgan Fox. Like, I think for me, this pick is going to this signing is going to do wonders for the Chargers. And once again, he gets to be reunited with his buddy Sebastian Joseph Day, as well as Brandon Staley, and he obviously knows LA. Obviously, this is going to be a different LA team, but I think he can adapt well. And again, he's only 27, and he's definitely going to fit in quite nicely. So we'll see what happens with the Chargers and their defense going forward. Again, I would not mind them signing Akeem Hicks. I just think it's going to be a risk versus reward type of thing. So overall, I think the Chargers are, once again, they're doing great things for their defense. And the Chargers also signed someone from the Denver Broncos. I'm not entirely certain who this person was. And I know it's a whatchamacallit, a cornerback, Bryce Callahan, that's his name. Bryce Callahan from the Denver Broncos, and I guess the Chargers still needed some cornerback help, even though they got J.C. Jackson, and they have Asante Samuel Jr. and Michael Davis, and they got a cornerback from the NFL draft, which he was definitely in the later rounds. Like, it wasn't like Sauce Gardner-esque or whatnot, but hey, what can you do? So that is going to do it for the NFL talk of this. There'll definitely be more Chargers and Rams talk as the off season goes on. But to wrap up, the Chargers did sign Otito Ogbonnia, Jamari Salyer, and Jasir Taylor, along with Dean Leonard and Xander Harvath to their rookie contracts. They haven't signed their first-round pick, Zion Johnson, to his rookie contract, and they also haven't signed Isaiah Spiller and the safety they drafted from Baylor. But either way, they should be signing rather soon. They better sign. Like, if this is another Joey Bosa holdout, then I'm going to lose my crap. But I'm sure everything will get finalized, so we'll see. So that is going to do it for the NFL portion of the show. Let's jump back to the NHL portion, as the Ducks actually drew the 10th overall selection for the NHL draft. So I guess 10th isn't too bad. And the Ducks have a bright future. They have Christian Zegras and many others. It's just that they can't like fill their team with like a bunch of old farts. Like, that's a no-no. Like, no more of this signing old farts to their team. Like, that experiment backfired for the Lakers. The Ducks cannot do that. And that's actually a perfect segue to go into, as we'll talk a little about the Lakers. So, the Lakers have basically I wouldn't say narrowed down their coaching selection, but their current, candidates for coaches include Terry Stotts, the former Portland Trailblazers coach, Darvin Ham, the assistant coach for for the Milwaukee Bucks, whose season unfortunately just ended. And then there was one assistant coach for the Golden State Warriors that was also in consideration, which I would not mind. I honestly would. Kenny Atkinson, that's his name. Kenny Atkinson is the candidate who is the assistant coach from the Golden State Warriors. Now, I would not mind anyone being the head coach as long as they don't sign sign some scrub. I mean, personally, I guess I wouldn't mind Kenny Atkinson, but honestly, I'm not going to hold my breath on that. I feel Darvin Ham might be the one for the Lakers. I think that it might be a match. I wouldn't say match made in heaven, but I think it just might be destiny, in my opinion. So, again, that's pretty much just the little bit of Laker news. There was no Clipper news, but I'm still miffed about of the Lakers firing Frank Vogel. I really don't think Frank Vogel deserved to be fired, and I don't think Frank Vogel getting fired changes anything. It obviously means that the Lakers will have a new head coach, but Frank Vogel was not the problem. The problem was the Lakers roster. They had no good role players. LeBron was having to carry the Lakers practically every night, and they were injury riddled. And they had a bunch of old guys on their team. And that is just not a good little match made in heaven right there. It's not a good recipe for success. So, tough times for the Lakers as of late, but they can't suck forever. By the way, their pick in the NBA draft is going to be 8. However, their pick's going to the New Orleans Pelicans, which, that's fun. Yeah, the Lakers aren't going to have a whole lot of picks. I don't think they're going to have any picks for the upcoming draft at all. I think their picks are basically I think their second round pick is going to the Wizards in the Russell Westbrook trade, and then they're also, and they're, like I said, their first round pick is going to the Pelicans, which is fun times. Marcus says they're also looking at another Warriors assistant, and he says, didn't they learn from Walton? That's true, actually, but I don't think anyone knew about Walton's situation. I didn't even know that Walton was having a little situation or his little fiasco with the Lakers and whatnot. So, I mean, it's for the Lakers. I don't think they're going to get a big time flashy name just because no one wants to take on that little circus. And I hate to call the Lakers a circus, but they're currently a circus at the moment, and they're basically all over the place, which is not good. But whatever coach lands the job, I guess I won't be fully disappointed in. I mean, look at everyone bashed the Lakers for hiring Frank Vogel, and he eventually led them to a championship. So, all in all, I think I'm not going to be too picky. I mean, if they hire Terry Stotts, then so be it. Maybe Stotts will have a good change of scenery. I have heard that Quinn Snyder is probably going to stay in Utah, and then I want to say Nick Nurse is also staying. I feel Nick Nurse would be the ideal fit for the Lakers, but again, I don't know if he's going to leave Toronto. I highly doubt it, considering he had a lot of success with Toronto. So, there's that. Alright, so that's that for the NBA news. Let's jump on over to some MLB action, just because that's what's mainly been going on for the world of Southern California sports, as the Dodgers have been complete dog wash when it comes to their most recent play. They have not been playing great as of late. Yes, they just recently swept the Diamondbacks. No, they previously lost Well, they lost 3 out of 4 to the Phillies, and they also lost 2 out of 3 to the Pirates, which is complete dog wash. Dog wash, hog wash, potato, potato. Currently, the Dodgers are still first in their division. They're a game and a half ahead of San Diego. However, that is a very tight race right there. So, as of most recent, the Dodgers did sweep the Diamondbacks in a 4-game series. They won on Wednesday, 5-3. They won a doubleheader by a score of 7-6 in Game 1 and 12-3 in Game 2. And then on Monday, the Dodgers beat the Diamondbacks 5-4. This was also coming off of a win where the Dodgers beat the Phillies 5-4. And then the previous 3 games that they lost were 9-7 on last Thursday, 12-10 last Friday in 10 innings, and then 8-3 on last Saturday. So the Dodgers are still doing good. I guess they're not really slumping, which I kind of feel silly for saying they're slumping, but I guess they're not bad. But this is kind of some fresh, but they're looking at fresh meat right here when it comes to possible wins. Like they're facing they've got the Phillies this weekend. Starting next week, they have the Nationals at Washington, and they're at Arizona for another 4-game series next weekend. And then after that, they have the Pirates. So the Dodgers, like I said, they are looking at fresh meat until June 2nd through the 5th, where they take on the New York Mets, which surprisingly has been the surprise team of the MLB as of late. I think that Mets series is going to be big. So I guess the Dodgers aren't really struggling, but they were struggling going into their series against Arizona. And I guess they just needed a bit of a return back to the Chavez Ravine, or a bit of a change of opponent in the Chavez Ravine. So I guess they're just not good against Pennsylvania teams, but what can you do? Baseball's a marathon, so I'm not going to fully complain about it. Now, the team that is currently slumping are the Angels. So the Angels got swept by the Texas Rangers. On Monday, they lost 7-4. Tuesday, they lost 10-5. And then on Wednesday, they lost 5-6 in 10 innings, which they got walked off, which was complete donkey-do. I am dissatisfied at that. And the worst part was they were unable to gain ground on the Houston Astros, which lost 2 out of 3 to the Boston Red Sox. So that leaves the Angels at a game and a half behind the Astros in the AL West, which I don't really like. But I guess the Texas Rangers are a sneaky good team. They have some sneaky good players, and I think they have the potential. I mean, I don't think anyone's gonna pick them to go to the World Series, but I think for me, Texas is kind of being underappreciated when they have talent on that team. So let's get that out of the way. So for the Angels, they are heading back to Cali this weekend as they take on the Oakland A's on today, Saturday, and Sunday. They actually played the Oakland A's last weekend in a 4-game series, and they actually won 3 out of those 4 games, which is pretty impressive. Yes, the Oakland A's have been bad this year, especially with all the turmoil they've had going in, where if they're going to move to someplace else not named Oakland. But overall, I think for the Angels, this is their time to probably get back on track, and they need this. They need this series, and they need the next series as well against the Rangers, as it's a 2-game slate on Tuesday and Wednesday. But then going into next week, the Angels have the Toronto Blue Jays, and then after the Blue Jays, the Angels are back on the road as they head up to the Big Apple to take on the New York Yankees, which should be a fun series. That's going to be a very fun series. It's going to definitely test the Angels, especially since the Angels are also playing the Blue Jays, which isn't really a bad team. I think the Blue Jays are solid. They're like a solid mid-tier team. They're not good, but they're not bad. And emphasis on not bad, especially since they play in a very tough division in the AL East. So overall, I'm still on the train of I'm still confident in the Angels. It's just that getting swept by the Rangers left a very bad taste in my mouth, and it would have been great for them to get at least one win against the Rangers, especially on the road, especially since the Astros are kind of picking up steam. They just won yesterday against, I want to say it was Seattle? No, it was Texas. So, yeah, it's an inter-Texas tussle between the Astros and Rangers this weekend. So, all in all, for the Astros, that's probably their moment to possibly get back on track after they fell behind. The Astros did win 10 in a row, but they've kind of cooled off ever since. I wouldn't say they've fully cooled off. They're still kind of hot, so we'll see what happens in that very competitive AL West. And then as for the Padres, they were able to win 2 out of 3 this past week. They won 2-0 on Thursday. They lost 3-0 on Wednesday, and then they won 3-0 on Tuesday. The previous series, they took on the Atlanta Braves. They won 2 out of 3 in that. They beat the Braves 7-3 on Sunday. They lost 6-5 on Saturday. And then they beat the Braves last Friday 11-6. So that's that. They also lost 2 out of 3 against the Cubbies, losing 7-5 last Wednesday, winning 5-4 last Tuesday, and losing 6-0 last Monday. So looking ahead for the Padres, they have a big series this weekend at San Francisco. It's going to be a big test for them, as that could basically be the early difference between both of those teams. I think for the Padres and the Giants, it's pretty much them trying to chase the Dodgers. Now, the Dodgers, like I said, they were recently struggling. They're doing good as of late after that 4-game sweep of the Diamondbacks. But for the Padres, this kind of begs the question: can they come up big on the road against the Giants? This week, the next few games are basically going to be huge ones, as after they play the Giants, they have the Brewers on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. The good thing for the Padres is that they will be playing at Petco Park, so they should be fine in that aspect. And then they also have a 3-game series against the Pirates next week. And then after that, they are on the road against the St. Louis Cardinals. Like I said, currently the Padres are in second place in the AL West, as they are a game and a half behind the Dodgers, but they are a game and a half ahead of the Giants. So I think the Padres are still doing solid. They'll be even more solid when they get Fernando Tatis Jr. back. So I think help is on the way for the Padres. They just have to hang on. So keep the faith, Padres fans. Don't run this train off the tracks. Don't run the bus off the road. So that's basically my little thing on the Padres. I unfortunately don't really see these games a whole lot, just because my TV provider does not get the Angels, Dodgers, and Padres, nor do I not have Bally Sports. But maybe one day that'll change. So we'll see. Like, the only time I'll be able to see the Padres, Angels, and Dodgers is on national TV, which, if that happens, that'll probably be on ESPN. So, yeah. So before we jump to a commercial break, let's talk a little about the Sparks. So the Sparks, after winning their first 2 games, they have been on a bad slump. They have now lost their last 3. This past Tuesday, they lost to the Minnesota Lynx 87-84. Last Saturday, they got stomped on by the Connecticut Sun 77-60. Ouch. And then last Wednesday, they lost in close fashion to the Atlanta Dream 77-75. The good news is that they spoiled the Chicago Sky's championship ring ceremony by beating them in overtime, which made me happy. Anyway, so coming up for the Sparks, they play the Seattle Storm tonight in a WNBA Commissioner's Cup game. Then on Monday, they have the Las Vegas Aces in another Commissioner's Cup game. Then on Wednesday, the Sparks have the Phoenix Mercury. And then next Friday, the Sparks are on the road against the Indiana Fever. So that's pretty much your Sparks roundup right there. I also should mention that the Lynx won their first game against the Sparks, which really does not sit well with me. The fact that the Sparks were Minnesota's first win of the season really sickens me. I know it's early. I know the WNBA season just kicked off. However, it's like, how do you lose to an 0-4 Lynx team? It's like, come on. Like, the Sparks are the only hope when it comes to basketball, professional basketball in Southern California. The Lakers are a hot mess, and we don't know about the Clippers in their state. Either way, the Sparks are basically holding up Southern California in terms of basketball. Basketball overall, that is, just because USC and UCLA, and all the other college teams are in their off-season. On that note, let us take ourselves a quick little break. When we come back, we will be talking some MLS and NWSL. So you are listening to the SoCal Supreme Sports Show here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. We'll be right back after this.
Sports fans, do you like teams that are tough, cities that are tougher, and fan bases that are passionate about their teams? How about teams that are historic and stadiums that are iconic? Then you belong in Chicago, and you need to check out Chi-Town Weekly. Join me, Adam Kernan, every week as we keep up with all things Chicago sports. Bears, Bulls, Blackhawks, Cubs, White Sox. We'll cover them all, plus more. The Windy City is always buzzing, and we'll keep you up on all the big games and major stories. So tune in to Chi-Town Weekly every week right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Davidson.
It's your boy, Lentarius Locke.
And we are the hosts of Fast Break here on IE Sports Radio, where we discuss everything in the world of basketball from prep to the pros.
You guys should definitely check us out, man. Sunday 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. We got all the basketball information you guys need, so we look forward to you guys listening in.
And please do, because we are the best basketball show on this side of the Mississippi. And please do check us out on Twitter at FastBreakISR. D-Lock, where's our time again?
8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. That give you guys plenty of time on a Sunday.
Tune in.
It's IE Sports Radio. It is your direct feed for all that is sports. It is Philly Sports Talk with Cash and Chris every Tuesday night right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Philly Sports Talk with Cash and Chris is the most comprehensive view on Philadelphia sports exclusively right here on IE Sports Radio. You know what it is, your direct feed for all that is sports. Tuesday night, IE Sports Radio, Philly Sports Talk with Cash and Chris.
What's good, fight fans? It's your boy, Marcus Los Great, here to give you what you want, here to give you what you need. Yeah, man. Yeah. I'm coming to you live, straight from your mama's basement with a crispy, awesome white tea. They're coming to you live every Tuesday at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Powered by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Checked out Slumped Off or any of our shows on IE Sports Radio, definitely do so. Welcome back to the second half of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that sports. That last drop was from Marcus Los Great, who is one of our Patreon supporters. Big shout to the man who gives us what we want, what we need, and he does so in a crispy, I said crispy, white tea. So, anyway, jumping back to the Southern California sports action, we have some MLS action as LAFC dropped a big contest this past week. On Wednesday, they had the honor of hosting Austin FC in the battle of two of the top teams in the Western Conference. Unfortunately, LAFC was unable to defend the Bank of America Stadium as... I'm sorry, not Bank of California Stadium. My apologies. Bank of California Stadium, as Austin wound up winning by a score of 2-1. Austin got the scoring started with a goal from Ruben Gabrielson in the 13th minute, LAFC scored a penalty shot from a shot from Carlos Vela, and then in the 80th minute before that, Austin scored thanks to Diego Fagundes. So LAFC had themselves a bad game against Austin. It kind of speaks to high volumes of how Austin has dramatically improved. And going into that match, Austin was coming in off of it on a 2-game losing streak, having lost to the Galaxy and having lost to Real Salt Lake. So this should have been I wouldn't say an easy pickings game for LAFC, just because Austin has dramatically improved. However, it could have been this loss could have easily been avoided, just because I think the LAFC is really surged to power, and this is only their second loss of the season. I want to say it's only their second loss of the season. Either way, their third loss of the season. I forgot they lost to Colorado the previous week. So yeah, they lost to Colorado last Saturday as well, which honestly, that was unacceptable on its own too. So LAFC has now lost 2 in a row after their only loss prior to those 2 losses was against the LA Galaxy. So overall, it's still a long season for LAFC. However, losing to Austin kind of makes me wonder if Austin is the real deal, and they are. And this kind of makes me wonder if LAFC can hold serve when it comes to their team going forward, because LAFC has a great team so far. It's just all about them maintaining their top 7 status, because they didn't really have the luxury of staying in the top 7 for a majority of the season, unlike the Galaxy. LAFC was basically up and down the top 7 throughout the Western Conference last year, and eventually they just found themselves on the outside looking in disappointingly. So for LAFC, it's just back to the drawing board for them. They have a quick turnaround as they play Columbus Crew on Saturday at Columbus. And then on Wednesday, they have a U.S. Open Cup round of 16 matchup against the LA Galaxy, which, boy howdy, that's going to be a very intense matchup, especially since it's a U.S. Open Cup match. Sorry if my voice is my voice has kind of been raspy. I'm still trying to get over allergies. I'm much better than I was back on Monday when I did set point. At that point, I was semi-sick as a dog, which I hope to be back to full strength next week. So, just gotta get that out of the way real quick. So, speaking of the Galaxy, they tied with Minnesota United, tying at 1-1. The scoring didn't happen until the 80-minute mark, or in this case, the 83rd minute, as the Galaxy scored off of a penalty shot from Sacha Klejelston. So, obviously, the Galaxy was able to hold on, right? No. Robin Law scored 4 minutes after that for Minnesota United, and eventually that was the 1-1 tie, which is disappointing just because the Galaxy were able to get that game-leading goal, and then 4 minutes after they conceded a goal, which you kind of have to... It kind of is face-palming, but I guess it's better than losing. Last Saturday, the Galaxy lost to Dallas FC 3-1, which I don't really like that, especially since the Galaxy haven't really had too many bad losses. They've had a couple of them here and there, but in the Galaxy's defense, they did have to play the California United Strikers, and they had to fight tooth and nail with those guys as they barely won that one 3-2. But I can't really give the Galaxy too much credit or too much of a pass, as the Western Conference has been all over the place. Currently, the Galaxy rest at 4th place in the West, behind Dallas, LAFC, and Austin. LAFC, on the other hand, is tied for first in the Western Conference. However, due to goal differential, which surprisingly, Austin and LAFC have the same number of wins, same number of draws, same number of losses, and the same number of points, which is really funny. So LAFC is basically fit to be tied with Austin, but due to goal differential, LAFC rests at the number 2 spot. So overall, like I said, the Western Conference has been quite interesting this year, especially since some of the teams that were really good last year, like Sporting KC and Seattle, they're kind of at near the, I wouldn't say near the bottom. Sporting KC has been complete dog water, while Seattle is kind of starting to rise up, but it's still surprising to not see them at the top. So anyway, again, I am looking forward to that round of 16 U.S. Open Cup matchup between LAFC and the LA Galaxy. I think that's going to be a very fun matchup. There's going to be fireworks. There's going to be LA Galaxy and LAFC fans trash talking. Until that matchup happens, the Galaxy will remain at home or will head back home to take on the Houston Dynamo. So looking at the standings when it comes to the Dynamo are 7th, which is not bad. I think the Houston Dynamo could present a challenge to the Galaxy, but I think the Galaxy have what it takes to get back into the W column. At this point, the Galaxy kind of need as many wins as possible just because nothing is safe when it comes to the Western Conference, and especially with what happened last year. The Galaxy fell out of the top 7 on the last day of the season, which really made Galaxy fans get irked. So overall for the Galaxy, it's still a long season, but I would like to see them starting to do well against some of these other Western Conference opponents. They did do a great job against Minnesota. It's just all about closing. Like, I thought they were over not being able to close matches, especially against Minnesota. Like, Minnesota, they're 9th in the Western Conference. That should have been a win right there. You just can't concede goals like that. Like, please stop. Like, stop, Galaxy. Stop! The Galaxy, on the other hand, later on this month, in about, like, a week or so, not this upcoming Sunday, but the following Sunday, they play Austin at home, which would really be huge if they won that. The Galaxy did beat Austin a couple weeks ago on Sunday in a 1-0 win over Austin on the road. Believe it or not, the Galaxy only needed to score in the 6th minute, and then they locked up the win with some sound, solid defense. So the Galaxy are basically Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. One day they're posting up impressive victories. I mean, look at them. They've beaten LAFC, and they also beat Austin. And then another week, they're losing badly to a team that they should... I wouldn't say they should be, but they're losing badly against a team that is kind of on their level. That they would have to basically win that matchup. Like Dallas. So what can you do if you're the Galaxy? Like I said, Galaxy is Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, and we can't help it. It's still early in the season, so I wouldn't say that this whole Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde thing isn't too concerning, but I think Galaxy fans would rest well knowing that their team should be beating up some of these other teams, especially some of these lower ranked teams in the Western Conference. Excuse me. But overall, that's pretty much the MLS in a nutshell right there. I'm still rather impressed that the Galaxy are still doing well along with LAFC. I hope they can continue to do well. I think It would be great to see both teams back back in the postseason. So we'll see what happens going forward. So we'll see. So jumping on over to some NWSL, San Diego is still undefeated. Oh wait, no, they're not undefeated. They lost. I'm sorry. I'm such a fool. They lost to Louisville this past Wednesday, losing 1-0. I feel silly for jumping the gun. They're still in first place in the Western Conference, but they're no longer undefeated, which is big boo. Yeah, they lost to Louisville 1-0, and in that matchup, Savannah DeMello, the former USC Trojan, actually scored in the 27th minute, and San Diego Wave FC just could not get that equalizer. But big shout out to Savannah DeMello, the former USC Trojan. Like, hats off to her for scoring that. So I just wish it wasn't against San Diego Wave FC, but it's better to lose now than to lose in the possible playoffs. Like, losses are only tough if they're dwelt on too much. So going forward, this Sunday, San Diego hits the road to take on the Carolina Pride. Or the Carolina Courage. My apologies. So I'm thinking of another team that's named the Pride. But San Diego takes on the Carolina Pride or North Carolina Pride. And then they follow that up by facing off against the Reign. So there's that right there for San Diego Wave FC. Once again, they're still in first place, and their goal differential is 5. So I'm not ultimately concerned, but Orlando is kind of on their heels. And I mean, they're only 2 points back, but still, losing to Louisville doesn't really sit well with them. But at least they got the loss out of the way. So they can't risk being undefeated going into the playoffs where they lose in the first round or so. So at least they got that risk out of the way. So as for Angel City FC, their most recent win came this past Sunday when they beat Washington 1-0. So good for them, as Kristen Press scored in the 42nd minute, which was good for Angel City, as they are currently third in the standings. And I'm glad both both teams from Southern California are doing well, especially since they're both expansion teams. Like, Angel City FC is owned by lots of big name, like, I wouldn't say superstars, but they're owned by like lots of big name stars in California. And then San Diego FC, Wave FC, is obviously a new program as well. So there's that right there. So I'm glad to see that both teams are excelling. Back to Angel City FC, they won 1-0 over Washington. They have a match tomorrow against Kansas City at home, which should be a fun match. It will be played at Bank of California Stadium, which is the home of LAFC. Angel City closes out the month next Sunday against Gotham or New Jersey/New York. Either way, they're facing the New York/New Jersey Gotham, which I imagine that's kind of a reference to Gotham City from like the back, from the not Marvel, DC Comics. Just because I think Gotham City was based off of like New York in like Batman and whatnot. But I'm getting off topic here. Angel City FC continues to do good things. They have 13 matches remaining, and they are currently 3 matches into their season. So, looking ahead to Angel City FC, I think they have the potential to continue to do great things. I want to see how they do against Kansas City, because looking at Kansas City, they are not good. But is that an excuse to underestimate them? Of course not. They have to come up big against Angel City, or they have to come up big against Kansas City, and they have to try to maintain keeping pace with the Orlando Pride and with San Diego Wave FC. And Orlando was the team that was named the Pride, not Carolina. Like, I'm glad NWSL is being more expanded, because I remember when I used to do the defining moment with Larry B, there were only a few teams such as the Chicago Red Stars, the Portland Thorns, the Houston Dash, and the North Carolina Courage. So overall, I'm glad to see the NWSL is being more expanded, and both California teams, or Southern California teams, are doing well so far. So I can hardly wait to see what's next for both of those teams. But that is going to do it for the soccer portion of the show for both NWSL and the MLS. So before we get into the Dum Dum of the Week, we have some USC football news. My goodness, we haven't talked about USC football in a hot minute, as USC football just signed the number one wide receiver in the transfer portal, hailing from Pitt, and that man is known as Addison Williams. Hold on. The dude literally transferred from Pitt and went to USC. I really am I wouldn't say I'm fully surprised, but I'm just downright impressed that USC was able to land that player. Oh, and Marcus says, oh yes indeed. So I'm really excited that I'm really looking forward to USC football, and heaven knows what is stopping them from running the table this season. Like, I really want to know what is stopping them from running the table. I mean, the Notre Dame the Notre Dame game looks tough on paper, but I think USC can win that one. With Lincoln Riley, I definitely think the sky is the limit for USC. I really think that USC has that potential to take the next biggest step, and I really, really, really look forward to seeing what USC football has to offer this season. It's going to be fun, and boy howdy, when is college football season going to start, y'all? I want to break down some college football with Larry Beyond College Edition. So there's that right there, and that is pretty much the brief USC football news. I just wanted to get that news out of the way just because it's huge news, and the fact that USC was able to land him speaks to high volumes of what the USC culture is bringing. And I also got news that the Pac-12 is starting to move away from playing their games at like 7 p.m. Pacific time. So they're probably going to play their games at like 5 p.m. Pacific time, if not earlier, just because the Pac-12 committee is basically said it's all about the committee, the FBS committee, looking at our games and us getting playoff bids, which I kind of like, but I kind of also wonder, but I'd really hate to be a USC fan that has to work or that has something going on, and then I don't get home until like 7 or maybe 6, and then the USC game is pretty much done with. But I understand the reasoning for it. Like, at least the Pac-12 is starting to use its brain. They're not just saying, oh, well, the committee needs to stay up and watch our games, considering they're from the East Coast. Like, it's tough for people to watch games on the East Coast. Like, it was tough for me to keep myself up to date on the Dodgers, Angels, and Padres while I was in Dallas-Fort Worth with my brother. But I get what the Pac-12 is trying to do. They're trying to do away with late cap games. They're trying to do with Pac-12 After Dark. And they're trying to make sure that the entire FBS committee is on notice that the Pac-12 is for real. So hats off to the Pac-12. I'm glad the Pac-12 is starting to actually get into serious mode. So, yay verily. So I guess that was that for the college football news. I went from, I don't really have much to talk about other than USC getting Addison Williams. But, actually, I have one more thing to talk about in terms of college sports, and this is probably going to make Marcus unhappy. But, unfortunately, for USC fans, UCLA won the Crosstown Cup by a final score of 100-90. This was basically all the head-to-head matches between USC and UCLA, whether it was between basketball on men's and women's side, volleyball on men's and women's side, beach volleyball, football, soccer, baseball, tennis. You get the point. Unfortunately for USC fans, but fortunately for UCLA fans, UCLA won the Crosstown Cup 100-90. So the Crosstown Cup goes back to UCLA, as did the Victory Bell. So congratulations to UCLA on their accomplishment. Better luck next year, USC. But the sun will come up tomorrow. So that is going to do it for college pretty much everything. Before we head off, we have the Dum Dum of the Week award to give out. So the Dum Dum of the Week award goes out to someone or something that does something very dumb, and it just makes you want to pull out your hair of how dumb it is. And no one is safe from this award. Anyone can get this award, and so long as I don't take it out of context. So I actually have two mini Dum Dum of the Week awards to give out. So the first Dum Dum of the Week award, in terms of the miniature version, is for myself. So I have lived a whirlwind of a life as of late that I forgot that Larry and Cecilia got married on Sunday and not Saturday. When I clearly remembered that Larry said that he and Cecilia were going to get married on the 8-year anniversary of IE Sports Radio. And then I was like, wait a minute, didn't Larry and Cecilia tie the knot on Saturday? No, they did not. They went down to San Diego to get married, or they went down to San Diego to prepare to get married the following day. So the fact that I unfortunately did not know that, and the fact that I messaged Larry Sunday morning saying I know you guys are wedded, and I just want to say congratulations, kind of makes me look like a fool. And it's like, I know people make mistakes, and I know this was an honest mistake, but I should have known that they were getting married on Sunday. I guess I'm not used to weddings on Sundays, so just because my mom and my stepdad got married on Saturday, yes, Marcus, the nerve of me for forgetting. So I get the mini Dum Dum of the Week award for basically forgetting what day Larry and Cecilia got married on, but it's an honest mistake. But again, I live a whirlwind of a life, so what can I do? So the second mini Dum Dum of the Week award goes out to the New Orleans Pelicans. So, I can't really bash the New Orleans Pelicans for this, but on Twitter they decided to say good luck to our friends the Lakers and their up and coming draft pick. Remember how I said the Lakers didn't have a draft pick for this year because it went to the Pelicans? Well, the Pelicans decided to, they decided to troll and be funny when they got a lot of they kind of touched a nerve on Lakers fans, as I'm pretty sure 95% of their mentions featured the Lakers won a championship. Why are you tweeting this out? And I'm just like, what? Why would you troll against one of the most passionate yet hostile fan bases out there? Now, I get it. The Pelicans were just trying to be funny, and their social media game was just trying to be funny, but you don't really want to mess with Laker Nation, especially when the Lakers did win a championship out of that Anthony Davis trade. Now, obviously, the Pelicans are in a much better situation going forward, but at least the Lakers have that little championship as a memento. So I'm not. That's why I wanted to give the Pelicans the Dum Dum of the week, but I gave them the mini Dum Dum just because they were just trying to have fun and they were just trying to be funny. But every Laker fan was just basically letting them have it. Some were even calling them poverty franchise, and I'm like, dang, you don't need to go that far. It's like, you really don't need to like troll. You really don't need to like fight back. I know the Pelicans were just trolling and having fun, but come on. So the Pelicans get the mini Dum Dum of the Week award. I guess my mini Dum Dum of the Week award is bigger than the Pelicans'. But now I gotta get to the main Dum Dum of the Week award. So this does not have anything to do with California. This actually goes to Arizona. So I did not know this. The Arizona Coyotes actually play their games at Arizona State's hockey facility. So I was unaware of this, and boy howdy, I was actually flabbergasted by this. So unfortunately for the Arizona Coyotes, they got the news that they will not be allowed to have their logo on center ice at Arizona State. Let me say that again. The Arizona Coyotes, an NHL team, will not be allowed to have their logo at Arizona State's hockey facility or hockey rink going forward. Okay, what is going on with this? Okay, this picture has a lot of flaws. One, since when do colleges have the power over NHL teams? Like, I understand the Coyotes should get their own facility, but why? Like, you should be honored to have the Arizona Coyotes gracing their presence on your hockey rink. Like, come on. Like, let them have their logo on center ice. I get it, you have to like fix it every single time, but it is what it is. And for the Coyotes, I can give this Dum Dum of the Week award out two different ways. I can give it to the Coyotes for being so incompetent that they can't even have their own logo at a college hockey rink. But I could also give the Dum Dum of the Week award to Arizona State, as basically they're preventing a hockey team from gracing their presence. Marcus says, no, they don't deserve their own facility. Yeah, the Coyotes are indeed an incompetent franchise. So I kind of feel I lean toward giving the Dum Dum of the Week award to the Coyotes. Marcus says the elite franchise is trash. Yes, I guess I accidentally said they're an elite franchise, but they are a franchise in general. So either way, they're an organization, a professional organization, and this was from Arizona State CFO Morgan Olson. He says, you should anticipate that both teams' identities will be reflected. All that the agreement stipulates is that anything Arizona State puts into the ice cannot be altered by the Coyotes. So in other words, the Coyotes cannot they can't put their logo over Arizona State, and they can't call it the Coyotes' home ice when it's clearly Arizona State's home ice. Basically, Marcus makes a great point. The Coyotes are an incompetent franchise, and basically it's like, how bad do you have to be in order for that to happen? It's pretty sad if you ask me. And based off of that alone, I think the Coyotes are the ones that are getting the Dum Dum of the Week award. Now, obviously, the Coyotes have had themselves such an atrocious season, but it just goes to show that if you're not being able to basically show that your home ice is your home ice and you have to share it with a college team, you're basically a poverty franchise. We talk about poverty franchises. I hate to say this, but the Coyotes are indeed one. And it's like, why don't you have your own home ice? Why do you have to share with Arizona State? Is it really that tough to have home ice elsewhere? I understand it takes it'll take like years of building to like build your own hockey rink and basically have your own thing, because as the old saying goes, a house is never built overnight. But the fact that you have to share it with a college team really makes me scratch my head. It's like, what? What is going on? Oh my gosh, Coyotes. It's like, I just don't understand this. It's like, you have to be pretty incompetent for you to share a facility with a college team and eventually basically not be allowed to put your own logo on it. It's like, dude. It's almost as worse as... Well, no, I was going to say it's almost as worse as the Lakers and Clippers sharing the Crypto.com arena. It's just that it is fair for the Lakers to or for the Clippers to use their logo on top of the Lakers logo. But back to the Coyotes. The fact that the Coyotes had to even share a facility with Arizona State, the fact that they're no longer going to be able to put their logo on Arizona State's ice, and the fact that the Arizona Coyotes don't even have their own home ice to actually go to, and the fact that they are indeed embarrassing to the entire state of Arizona every time they play, they are this week's Dum Dum of the Week award. Like, what the F?
So dumb. You are really dumb. For real.
And that, my friends, is all she wrote. I'm just flabbergasted by this. I saw this earlier in the news and I'm like, no way. The Coyotes... I was even surprised that the Coyotes were sharing home ice with Arizona State. Oh my gosh, Coyotes. It's like, now I know what the true poverty franchise in the NHL is. But on that note, that is going to do it for this week's episode of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. Before I lose my brain cells at what I'm seeing when it comes to the Coyotes, I think it is high time we get on out of here, because first of all, my voice is starting to get shot a little, and second, it's dinner time for me. You dig? Thank you everyone for tuning in to the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. I really do appreciate you all tuning in. If you listen live, I appreciate you. If you listen while you're at work, I appreciate you. If you listen on the playback, I appreciate you. I really do appreciate you all listening while I wasn't at 100%. Don't worry, y'all. I should be 100% by next week. Allergies cannot keep the boy down. Shout out to Marcus Listgreat who's in the chat room. Thank you for tuning in and listening throughout the entire show. It really means a lot. Definitely check out Gloves Off with Marcus Listgreat. He does an excellent job, and he has a lot of new Marcusisms, which I kind of might be borrowing for the near future. Other than that, for everyone here at IE Sports Radio, this is Teran Rodriguez signing off. You all have yourself a great weekend. Don't try to be as dumb as the Arizona Coyotes are. Definitely do the right thing. Be smart. Just basically take care of one another. Be a nice person. Don't be a jerk. Otherwise, you will be on Dum Dum. And just keep your nose out of the gutter. I will see you all Monday for set point with my voice, hopefully at 100%. But until then, you all have yourself a great weekend. And remember, SoCal is for SoCal. Peace!